Morgan Thomas Show. Brought to you by Black's Tire Inc.
Here we go. It's another episode of the Morgan Thomas Show. I'm your host and producer, Morgan Thomas. Welcome again for another Monday night, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Time, live, Facebook, live, YouTube. And if you miss us, you might be listen to us on the podcast after the fact. But we appreciate everyone who's jumped in and joined us tonight. Got some of the big headphones on, also wearing a hat, joining the hat crew. Might as well a three-man band here with the hat. But thank you so much, guys, for joining in, whether you're Facebook, YouTube, or podcast. Welcome, Big Al, Alan Adams, and Houston Burnett. Thank you, guys, for coming on.
Yeah, good to be here, as always. Another big win for the Clemson Tigers this weekend. It's nice to get back on the field. So we got a lot to talk about, including the preview of Virginia Tech. So looking forward to it, man.
Just as good as Thanksgiving leftovers. Just being able to enjoy tonight. And definitely, I feel like the three of us are a better judge of character than Mike Norvell trying to judge who runs a cleaner program when it comes to COVID.
Oh,
but I don't know.
Wow. Starting out the gate with that one. Anything more you want to add to that, Houston?
No, I would not. I would just I'll let the rest of everybody just kind of, marinate on Florida State having to cancel 3 straight games. But, it's Clemson's fault, I guess.
Yeah.
Maybe.
Is Clemson going to play that game? I say no.
No.
Is Florida State going to play any games anymore? I say no. I think they're going to go ahead and cancel 2021. Just go ahead. Just call it a wrap. You know what?
Send them to SoCon.
All this started happening right around the same time basketball season started. Maybe a hint there that they are officially becoming a basketball school. Florida State becoming the new Duke of the ACC. It's kind of weird. Kind of weird to think that they may not care about football and only care about basketball. But they do have a pretty decent basketball team. Clemson's going to see them in a couple of weeks, and so excited for that. But again, thank you so much for joining in. Wherever you're watching or listening, we really appreciate it. Let me tell you about our primary show sponsor before we get into everything, because we got a lot to talk about, and we want to get into it tonight. So, Black's Tire Inc., family-owned and operated since 1971. If you need new tires, brakes, alignments, tire repair, or just looking for a friendly professional to help answer your questions, stop by Black's Tire Inc., located 1415 East Main Street, Westminster, South Carolina. Give them a call, 864-647-9292. Again, we really appreciate Dale and Preston for being a part of our show now for over 2 years. We really appreciate it. We're right at 2 years, almost. Al, actually, November 30th, we started, I think like the second week of December 2 years ago. So we're getting close to that 2-year anniversary. Maybe we should do something fun. I don't know. We'll think about it. But thank you so much for joining in. Al, did you ever think that we would be doing this for 2 years? I mean, it's kind of like a second job now, basically.
Oh, it's most definitely like a second job. But no, it's great. No, I love talking about Tigers. I mean, I talk to the Tigers in my off time. Okay, so it's cool that we get to come here and do it officially with all the fans. That's a pretty neat thing. But yeah, once we started, I had no doubt we were going to keep it going for 2 years. Hopefully, a lot longer than that.
Well, we're one of the few out there that live stream and talk about Clemson football, and we're glad that you're part of it. We hope you enjoy the show. If you do enjoy the show, follow us on Facebook, subscribe to us over on YouTube. Houston jumped in about summer last time. Houston, you still running strong? Not going to give up anytime soon, are you?
I mean, I'm not giving up anytime soon. I might be on break here in a couple weeks because there's a major life event happening. But I'll be back after that, and I'll be stronger than ever to cover the Tigers in basketball season and beyond.
Major life event. What are you, buying a washer and dryer?
Yeah, no. Yeah, I'll need a washer and dryer.
Well, again, Houston, congratulations on the upcoming birth of your first child. So awesome. A little girl, and going to join the group of girls here. So looking forward to that. Tonight, as the rundown, we have college football reactions from last weekend, week 13. We're going to talk about Heisman Trophy candidates and some thoughts that we might have. A question I'm going to throw to the crowd, or to you and to the co-host here. And we're going to give you our Clemson versus Pittsburgh grades from last weekend, then preview Clemson versus Virginia Tech coming up this weekend. I think it's going to be a good matchup. Probably would have been a lot better minus COVID because there would actually be fans in the stadium. And then we're going to finish up, as we always finish up, with our Week 14 picks against the spread. Thank you so much for joining in, and put in your comments and concerns, any questions you have over in the chat. We really appreciate it. Giggled, Bo, Clemson, Carson over on the chat. Thank you so much, guys. John as well. Hats in there. We are definitely wearing hats, and I will agree, I'm probably hiding some things under this hat. Al, what you got over on Facebook? You see anything?
I do. Actually, I'm mid-response over here right now. So we got Kevin Harris with us, and Four Paws Bill Lanham as usual. Al Kuhn with us on time again. Appreciate that, Al. Gene Cranford's with us. Brent Meredith Fulton. See who else slipped in here. My wife. My wife is watching on her way home, so she's in the car. I just told on her in front of everybody, but I'm sure she's paying attention to the road. But we got some good chat going on here. A lot of good comments, a lot of funny comments, a lot of questions. So keep it going here on Facebook. Get in, give us your thoughts, give us your questions, comments, jokes of the day, whatever you got over here.
All right, so Week 13 recap. Notre Dame, first game up, Notre Dame beats up North Carolina. The Tar Heels came out early, but then kind of fizzled after that. Really didn't do anything after the first quarter. I think had about 3 points the rest of the game. All indications are that Clemson versus Notre Dame is coming up in the ACC championship game, as long as those two teams can continue to win. Specifically, Clemson can continue to win. But Alan and I, we both picked Notre Dame to stick with it. Houston took the Tar Heels as a lone wolf. And I will start you off, Houston. What were you thinking?
Well, for a long time there, it seemed like something that would be a good pick, especially the first two series. I thought North Carolina could score on them. And for the most part, I feel like they moved the ball well. Even in the second half, they would show glimpses of, hey, they hit up a 10-yard run, or they hit a little pass that'll go 10, 15 yards. But I don't know. I know everyone's talking about the defensive performance of Notre Dame, and no discrediting them. They did really well, but I also don't think North Carolina did themselves any favors. I feel like they got away from what was working in the first half, and a lot of things that were keeping Notre Dame kind of off balance. A lot of that switched to longer to the run game, and ultimately ended up covering.
Yeah, and Al, we have our other game up, which was really the one game that I think we all lost, unfortunately, and that was Syracuse keeping it closer to the Wolfpack than we all anticipated. For whatever reason, Dino Babers got his team to continue to play. But the craziest thing is, I mentioned that Syracuse is the worst team in America. Well, what kind of stuff does the worst team in America do? Exactly what Syracuse did Saturday. Fourth down, with the clock running, with no timeouts left, what do? Spike the ball to end the game. How can you do that? I mean, I just don't understand it. Even Wes Durham, who was calling the game, was like, the last thing you want to do is spike the ball. The last thing you want to... And then he just kind of was like, okay, they spiked the ball. The game is over. Syracuse doesn't understand it, but the game is over. What are your thoughts on Syracuse? I mean, why are they still fighting here? Why? I mean, I guess they're not fighting. They're not losing for a number one draft pick, so it might as well keep fighting.
Yeah, might as well. Why not? I mean, they're not pulling a Florida State, so that's good. But I mean, I didn't get to see any of that game. All I know is I saw the final score. I couldn't believe they kept it close. I thought NC State was going to be able to take care of business better than that. And then, of course, I got the message. I believe it was from you that it said they spiked it in the game, and I had to go back and watch it on replay. It's just unbelievable that those kind of things can happen in college football. That'd be hard to believe in high school, much less college football. But yeah, that was a cool way to end the game, depending on how you're looking at it. But fun for us. At least it gives us something to talk about.
And Al, you actually did have a good one. You went lone wolf on Duke versus Georgia Tech. Really a straight up game. How in the world, in a picks against the spread game, do Houston and I lose a straight up pick in a picks against? We're supposed to do picks against the spread to make it harder on us, and we can't even win the one that was a straight up pick. I don't really know. I do know this. How dare we pick Duke, considering that Chase Bryce is the quarterback? Oh, we love you. We love you as a Tiger, but you turned the ball over way too much to be trusted. Fumbled, I believe, twice. Threw an interception, fumbled twice, and then a few other players fumbled as well. That Duke cannot be trusted. They are the worst in the ACC in turnover margin, and it's really by far. So, Duke, you're in my bad graces now. Chase Bryce, like I said, I just can't pick you. I love you, just can't pick you. Iowa State, though, Al, you picked Texas. You picked Texas. Yep. Now, I'm not going to beat you up on this one because you said, "Hey, I got to go. I got to go with the opposite to try to make up some ground."
Yeah.
Thoughts on that one?
Yeah, I thought I was going to pull this one out too. As a matter of fact, if I don't know if you watched that game or not, I got to watch most of it, and I was right until a minute and a half to go. I mean, Texas came out firing. Iowa State made a comeback, but Texas was pretty much in control the whole game. And I was like, look, it's going to be a close game. I thought it was going to be much more high scoring, as I would imagine most people did. I thought it was going to be more high scoring, but I thought it was going to be back and forth. And in the end, I thought Ellinger was going to make Ellinger type play. And he didn't get his chance. He didn't have a great game, but I was like, hey, he just got to get to the end of the game and he can make something happen. Unfortunately, the field goal went just left the 57-yarder.
Had the distance.
Had the distance. It just barely missed. And I was ready. I was like, hey, he's going to nail this 57-yarder. We're going to go into overtime, and Ellinger's going to make me look like a hero here because I'm telling you, this kid's got moxie. I said he was a gamer. He makes those plays when it needs to be made. He puts his body on the line. He doesn't care. And it's something you really like in a quarterback, and I thought he was going to pull that one out. Man, so close. It's tough to lose that kind. But at least they didn't pull a Cincinnati like Houston and did the other week with his little UCF.
Can you even count that as a win? Can you even really count that?
I can't be overly upset like I was that week because that's an abomination. That shouldn't have happened ever.
We all hit home. We all locked in Alabama over Auburn. They did not disappoint. Alabama still looking like one of the best teams in the country, if not the best team. We also had two games that weren't allowed to be played. Florida State, because of, as Houston mentioned earlier, Florida State has refused to play football for the past month. And then Oklahoma also did not play for some COVID concerns. Interesting there. West Virginia is now going to play Iowa State. And Oklahoma has not played West Virginia. So I wonder how that's going to affect the Big 12. Not really sure yet. I hope that they do make that game up. Because Iowa State is now just one step closer to winning the Big 12 and, or making it to the Big 12 championship game, I guess, if they're going to have one. And then the last game, one that, I was the lone wolf on, that I have to beat myself up on over this. Clemson beats Pittsburgh so easy by 35 points. Really no challenge at all. The defense, really good, but really no challenge. Torched them? Would you say torched? Yeah, I'd probably say torched, because if this was 52-17 against Carolina, boy, we would be bragging about this. But it is against Pittsburgh, a team that replaced Carolina this year. Maybe a better rival, to be honest. Maybe a better rival. We might just keep them around. But, again, I picked Clemson. What was I thinking? Well, let me tell you something. I hated myself all Saturday because there's nothing worse than watching your team go up 24-0 within like minutes and then thinking, and I text Alan, I text you this. I text you both guys this. I said, now all Clemson has to do is run the clock out. Well, that was like 8 minutes to go in the first quarter. So that's a lot of clock running out for me to keep it within. Now, Pittsburgh did come back a little bit, got close, but then Clemson just got right back into it and really handled them the entire game. We'll talk about our player grades coming up a little bit later on, midway through the show. So tune in for that a few minutes from now, maybe say 5-10 minutes from now. We'll talk about our player grades, our team grades for the Clemson versus Pitt game. But before we go into that, I was watching college football final, with the guys we love, Joey Galloway, Jesse Palmer. I say that sarcastically. But watching college football final, they said, what do you think about the Heisman candidates that are out there now. Joey Galloway said he's picking Kyle Trask because currently 2,810 yards passing, 34 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. Jesse Palmer saying that he's taking Mac Jones because 2,728 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, and 3 interceptions. When asked about Justin Fields, they both said, well, we don't believe that Justin Fields is going to have enough games now that 2 games have been canceled of the 8. So he's only going to play 6 games. He's not going to have enough games played. And Wisconsin was one of those games that he's not going to play, which was one of the games that everybody was looking forward to. So their key point was he's not going to have his Heisman moment game against the big dogs of the Big Ten. Mm-hmm. And then they moved on to the next subject. And I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Where's Trevor Lawrence in this conversation? You talked about 3 other guys, and you didn't even mention Trevor Lawrence. Now, I know he hasn't played in a few weeks, and it's not really been his fault. He hasn't really played in 3 weeks. It's not really been his fault. But I will say that it's unfair to not include him in the Heisman discussion, especially after the game he had against Pittsburgh and the game we know he would have had against Florida State. Come on, let's be honest. And the game he probably would have had against Notre Dame. Now, that's my question to you guys. I'm going to throw it to you. Trevor Lawrence, 2,236 yards passing, 19 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. And when he gets out there, he looks like he's just in the rhythm, even though he's been off almost a month. He still gets right back into a rhythm, hitting dimes to Cornell Powell, hitting dimes to Amari Rodgers. So my question is to you, is Trevor Lawrence out of the running, and is it because he didn't play against Notre Dame? Did he miss his big game? Because his only big game was Miami 8 weeks ago. So everybody's forgotten about that. You know how Heisman voters are. They forget about what you've done.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Look, he's going to get his chance. He's going to play Notre Dame in the ACC championship, so he'll get to show his stuff there. I don't think that's going to be. I don't think that's that much of an issue. You look, I mean, they understand that these games, he had nothing to do with the fact that he was out. I mean, it's COVID related, and then the games got canceled. It is what it is there. They got to take a lot of things into account, and I understand that. I mean, Kyle Trask has had an outstanding year. I mean, goodness gracious. Morgan, if you had Kyle Pitts to throw to, I mean, you'd have those kind of stats. This guy's insane. He's a freak of nature. He can get open on anybody. It's insane the amount of catches he has. I think he's the best player on Florida's team, and I think it's a similar situation with Mac Jones. He's got better players as receivers on his team. Devontae Smith, these guys are better. How can you be the Heisman winner if you're not even the best player on your team? And Kyle Trask, I guess you can make an argument for him. Mac Jones is easier to see that, he's not the best player on the team. But still, you've got these things working against you, and Trevor Lawrence does not have that alpha receiver that he's used to having this year. If you want to say we have an alpha receiver, it's Cornell Powell. We've all been bragging on Cornell Powell and how good he's done. Look, Amari Rodgers is a good guy too. But these guys aren't the 6'4", 215 type guys that just can go over anybody and catch a ball. We haven't had that this year. We've talked about it several times on this show. The receiving core for Alabama is definitely better. The offensive line is better, so Mac Jones has more to work with there. There's a lot of things I think they got to take into consideration, and there are a lot of arguments that can be made for and against Trevor Lawrence. So I would certainly say Trevor Lawrence isn't out of it by any means. But Kyle Trask, I mean, he's done a great job, and you can't really fault him for being the front runner right now. I mean, he's done absolutely everything he could and more this year.
So 2 things that I'm going to say that I think will benefit Trevor Lawrence. Actually, 3 things. 1, Kyle Trask and Mac Jones are going to play each other. And if one of those 2 turns out to have a bad game, maybe Mac Jones has his one bad game, Florida gets a hold of him, he throws 2 or 3 interceptions, that could spell the end of his Heisman run. Same with Kyle Trask. Look, he's already got a loss on his resume, and what the Heisman Trophy has kind of devolved into is, are you playing the best ball for the best team in the country? And so Kyle Trask might put up 1,000,000 yards, but if he throws 2 or 3 picks, he could be very well out of the race as well. The other thing that benefits Trevor is he gets to play Notre Dame again. He wasn't in there. If he vindicates that Notre Dame loss and goes out and throws for 1 billion yards and 4 touchdowns, he moves automatically back up to the front of the line, I feel like, especially if he plays well that game. The third thing that I don't think anybody's talking about is the Heisman Trophy this year is presented after the first round of the playoffs. So there's going to be a lot of things happen that I don't think anybody's really thinking about now. Could be that Kyle Trask has a bad game or a good game, makes it to the playoffs and has another bad game, and ends up, falling out of the race. Could be that Trevor Lawrence goes off, beats the brakes off of Notre Dame, and then whoever they play in the first round of the playoffs, whether it be Florida, Alabama, Notre Dame, Cincinnati, whoever it is, and he goes off again, that might cement him with a Heisman Trophy.
And it's kind of weird to me to feel like that this guy is going to lose, let's just say, could possibly lose the Heisman Trophy in a year where he'll be the #1 draft pick in the NFL and lose it to two guys that may not be a first-round draft pick in the NFL. Very, very weird to me that could happen. Why would all these NFL guys say this is the guy we want, but then not take him? And here's another thing. They talk about stats. It's just like the Lamar Jackson syndrome, okay? These guys had great stats, have great stats right now. Trevor Lawrence has been doing this for 3 years. He's been putting up big numbers. Oh, by the way, did you forget he won a national championship as a freshman? He came back and went to the national championship game last year, and he's got a very good chance of going to the national championship game again this year. But winning doesn't matter. We know that you can lose 4 games and still get the Heisman Trophy. We saw that, or 3 games with Lamar Jackson. I'm still chapped about that one. I don't think that that's very fair either. You got to be able to lead your team to the championship game as the general. If you're the quarterback, neither one of these guys have done that. Neither one of these guys have a ring on their finger as a starting quarterback for their team.
I'd also like to jump in that the opposite of Lamar Jackson is Kyler Murray. Kyler Murray was well behind Tua Tagovailoa for the entire season until week 13. The SEC championship game, Tua does not play well. I think he gets hurt. Jalen Hurts has to come in, and all of a sudden, a week later, because of one good game, Kyler Murray is the Heisman Trophy winner. And I think Clemson could be in that scenario. Kyle Trask, Mac Jones, they lead for the entire year, but if they both beat up on each other, and Trevor Lawrence has 2 outstanding games in a row, that's the recipe for success.
Give us that year. If you look at stats alone, there's plenty of players that are better than Kyle Trask, even though he's doing great. Don't get me wrong. I mean, Malik Willis, I know he plays for Liberty. I get it. But he's got way more fantasy stats than Kyle Trask. Zach Wilson, BYU, I get it. But Dylan Gabriel and Sam Ehlinger all have better fantasy points, higher fantasy point totals right now in the year than Kyle Trask. So if you go by stats alone, I mean, and we already know from the Lamar Jackson syndrome that don't necessarily have to be winning games. So I don't know. That's my argument there is look at the whole body of work. Oh, by the way, who was one of the main players in front of everybody saying, hey, we want to play football this year? I mean, it was Trevor Lawrence. So Not only that, he's shown he's a leader on the field, off the field. He gets unfazed. He overcomes COVID, comes out here, still looks like he hasn't skipped a beat. And so I'm telling you, vote for Trevor Lawrence because he is going to light it up. My question is this. Normally around this time, they're already starting to submit their votes. I don't know if they're holding them in this year or not. I didn't look that up. But we're talking about playing Notre Dame. That's weeks away. Normally, these Heisman votes would be in. And so that's a concern for me too. Are they going to be turning their votes in before these games even get played? And because we know it's happened, and they're not going to get far into the postseason or even into the playoffs. That ballot's going to be cast already. The show's already going to be made, right? So let us know what you have in the comments for sure. We really appreciate it. Hot topic, I know for sure. All Clemson fans out there, and we want to hear what you got to say. Let's take a look at what we got coming up next is Clemson versus Pitt grades. But before we do that, let me check in with the stats, or let me check in with the comments real quick. So I've got John. Trevor missing 2 of the biggest games is what's going to prevent him from getting a lot of votes. But it's a popularity vote anyways. I can't disagree with that. That's what I mentioned earlier. I do think that missing Notre Dame was tough, difficult. I'm hoping that people still hold their vote in for the ACC championship game if they still make it. So I do agree with you, John, there. Al, you got anything over on Facebook?
Yeah, we got Well, a lot of people are giving you a lot of credit, so I don't really want to read those.
Yes.
But I got Al Kuhn and Casey Cregan in here talking about you. Morgan is spot on. A Morgan rant. I love it. And Billy Sigmund gets in and says, if you include his win-loss record all the way back to the 9th grade, he has lost 2 games. Okay, so that's a pretty cool stat for Trevor Lawrence. It's
Thank you.
pretty mind-blowing right there. Good stuff in on the comment line on Facebook.
I'm pretty sure he's never lost a game in Madden, if you want to throw that in there as well. Great gamer. But let's tell you about another sponsor of ours, and that's Charleston Sports Pub of Clemson, downtown Greenville, and 4 locations on the coast. We really appreciate them supporting us. If you check them out, Charleston Sports Pub, had a great time there, fun playing darts. I went upstairs. They have 2 golf simulations. I got to play at Pebble Beach for the first time ever, and it felt like I was actually there. 5-star review from Mr. Well. Thank you so much for going in there. You see also on the screen as well, Clemson legends dine at the Charleston Sports Pub. Again, Clemson, downtown Greenville, or if you're over in Charleston, Mount Pleasant, go check them out. They're there. James Island as well. Really appreciate their support. And it's great food, a great time. And like I said, Clemson legends go there. So why not you? Again, our second sponsor is Tiger Sports Shop. We don't just dress for success. We TS for success. Tigersports.com. We get all our Tiger gear there. We are wearing Tiger gear tonight. Anything that you see that we have on the screen that we're wearing as far as apparel goes comes from the Tiger Sports Shop, Tigersports.com. Or if you're close, if you're local, go to their 2 locations, downtown Greenville or on Tiger Boulevard. And then we're going to talk about, let me get back into the main screen and pull Tiger Sports up again. So let's talk about Clemson versus Pitt. Man, I went back and watched it 3 times because a lot of good stuff. And the first thing I want to say is, my God, Cornell Powell. I mean, this is becoming the story. This is like a story of all stories. You know, I mean, this is up there with the Hunter Renfrow type story, to be honest with you. And I just love what he's doing. And when you see that guy catch a 70-yard touchdown, not a touchdown pass because he got tripped up, and he was mad at himself, I know, but a 70-yard catch with one hand, left-handed, by the way, was freaking amazing. And as a fan, just knowing how far he's come, as a member of, podcasting and asking Dabo Swinney face to face, what is going to take for Cornell Powell to take his Thursday, Friday practices to Saturday in-game experience. And he said he's got to stay committed and believe that he can do it and stay focused. Well, he's doing that and then some. Not just DJ is connecting with him, but Trevor Lawrence is now connecting with him big time. Trevor's already been on good terms with Amari Rodgers. Now he's adding in Cornell Powell, and he's really kind of sprinkling in a little bit of EJ Williams, as you saw this weekend too. The offense looks great, minus the running game, but the offense looks great. The defense, well, the running game looked good in the red zone. Not really. I say minus the running game because we have Travis Etienne, and he hasn't had a 100-yard rushing game in like ages. I feel like it's almost been a year from now. But I will say, in the red zone against a pretty stout Pitt defense, Travis Etienne, Trevor Lawrence, and Lynn J. Dixon, and even Ches Malusi ran it in there, sometimes untouched. And so big shout out to Will Putnam. I mean, he was doing really good on that right guard spot and leading the way. And a lot of times they were just marching right in there, 2-stepping in. I'm like, wow, we get all the way to the 3-yard line. It's this easy? I want to see more of that, but I want to see it, between the 20s as well. And that's kind of, where I want to see more. But still, great game from the offense. The defense, I mean, Mario Goodrich, 2 interceptions. Did y'all see the video? Of Andrew Booth's interception? I mean, I know you saw it real time, but did you see like the replay? It was like he was flying. He was like literally grew wings, angels in the outfield style, and caught that home run ball. He did steal it from Tyler Venables. I think Tyler Venables would have caught that ball, but it was nicer the way he caught it. So I give it to him. But Mario Goodrich, 2 interceptions. Andrew Booth did great. Trenton Simpson had some good in there. Alan, go ahead. Go ahead and tell us. I'm already guessing that this is one of your top players for the weekend. But Mr. Green, Mr. Freshman of the Week. Freshman of the Week. Just go ahead and give us some thoughts about Malcolm Green.
Man, I was all jacked up for Green. You know, I've been on him since the recruiting process. I loved his film. I thought he could play several DB positions. I think that's proven right now, and it's proving out on the field, and he's done a good job. I didn't give him my player of the game on defense, but I did mention him specifically in my little blurb that I wrote up about it. I mean, look, he got the interception, which is an awesome thing, but he's a physical guy. He seems like a Clemson guy, and his eyes are on the quarterback, and I love it. He had an amazing pass breakup. He broke on the ball because he saw where the quarterback was looking. He was able to get the break on the ball, come from behind the receiver, knock down a big pass. I mean, it's just perfect. I mean, that's the way you draw it up. That's what you want to see. We've given some Clemson DBs some grief about that, not getting their head around. He didn't have to get his head around. It wasn't a deep pass, but he was watching the quarterback instead of the receiver, which allowed him to make the play when one of their receivers was kind of sitting in the zone. It's a beautiful thing. I'm telling you, I like where this guy's headed. I think he's going to be a huge factor for Clemson going forward.
Yeah, I think he was great. You know, it's kind of crazy that Clemson was able to do all that on defense and have these young bucks kind of step into the ring and not have Darion Kendrick, for whatever reason, wasn't playing, Sheridan Jones and Landon Sanders. And honestly, I say this about Malcolm Green, and this isn't a slight on Landon Sanders. I just feel like Malcolm Green right now looks like the part that you need to have in that back part of your secondary going to a championship run. Landon Sanders, great with blitzing. I think he can get to the quarterback really well, and I think he can be used. But I think when you're in pressure situations, Malcolm Green needs to be the guy that you put back there.
Yeah, I'm liking what the defense is doing and how they're kind of, you know, getting healthy is the big key, because you saw some James Skalski, who was a late game, a late morning, I guess, you know, questionable. And he was originally doubtful, then moved to questionable, and then we knew he was suited up. So we kind of thought, there's no way you're letting Skalski have his pads on and not putting that sucker out on the field. He will rip you apart on the sideline if you don't let him play. So I knew he was going to play once he had his pads on. There was no way about it. You couldn't stop him. Tyler Davis. This defense, as we've said for weeks now, completely different when Tyler Davis is on the field, and it is a great thing to watch as well. They just have so much more ability to maneuver their schemes and their alignments and different things, and an attack from different angles because of that one player. It's a crazy the amount of success they have on the defense, and it showed up this weekend, and it helps the pass coverage as well, just having him there too, because they can adjust from a three down lineman to only two, or to four down and back and forth, and trust that he handles it there. So good to see them getting healthy. So let's go offensive players of the game, defensive players of the game. Go ahead and get in the chat over on YouTube, Facebook, what you think your offensive and defensive players of the game. I already see people in the chat saying what they think. Offensive player of the game for me, Cornell Powell, 6 receptions, 176 yards, 1 touchdown, 170-yard one-handed catch. And then defensive player of the game, I'm going to go with Mario Goodrich, 2 interceptions. One was kind of a tipped pass that he caught on the very edge of the sideline. I was very excited to see what he could do there, staying in bounds. But another one, he completely jumped the route. And you talk about, Alan, all the time about turning your head, looking at what's coming on, paying attention to the whole play. He was not only in the right position, but jumped the route, took it, and intercepted it as well. Really good to see him. He made the ACC, or I believe the Pro Football Focus ACC's defensive back of the week. Trevor Lawrence was the quarterback of the week, and Cornell Powell was the wide receiver of the week, and Malcolm Green was the freshman of the week. So PFF showing a lot of love to Clemson players there. So those are my 2 players of the game. What you guys got?
I agree with you wholeheartedly on both. on both ends. Cornell Powell, how are you going to put anybody else in there that that went 6 receptions, 176 yards and a touchdown? That's fantastic. You could argue Trevor Lawrence if you want, but man, individual performance by Cornell Powell has been unbelievable, and we've been able to say that multiple games for this year, and that just excites me to no end because we've been waiting and waiting for Cornell Powell to break out, and he's finally done it. We were even talking earlier this season about him being a possession type receiver, and thank God he's proven us wrong in a huge, huge way. It's so good to see. But Mario Goodrich the same way. I'm glad to see it for Goodrich for sure. When we were talking preseason about who was going to start opposite Derion Kendrick, I said Mario Goodrich. I believe you went Sheridan Jones. There's a lot of talent at DB. We didn't know Booth was going to, break out and be as good as he's been with his injuries. Mario Goodrich has had, his injury issues as well. But it's good to see all of these DBs playing and playing well. It's like we can go out and win with almost 3 deep.
So I'm going to switch it up. I know, I agree with both all that's been said, but I feel like there's some names that have popped up this past weekend for Clemson that we haven't seen perform this, at a level that we wanted to in a while. And I'll say this first. Morgan, I know that you think the running game didn't play well, but I wholeheartedly disagree. I think we ran the ball really well all day. It's just that Pittsburgh was giving us downfield passing opportunities. You're going to take that. And I think they're working that in, especially for Notre Dame down the road. Notre Dame is going to try to take away the run in the future. They're trying to work on their pass game to be able to attack them more. We were averaging between 3 running backs, 5 yards a carry between Dixon, Etienne, and Malusi. 5 yards a carry. I had almost 150 yards rushing. It's not great, but you're taking what you get, and they did pretty good. And I think one of the people that I think no one's talking about because he looked like his old self the other day is Lynn J. Dixon, averaging 5 yards a carry. He only had 46 yards, but he ripped off a couple of big runs, 15-yard run in the middle of the game, and he looked like his old self. He finally looked like a threat, at least in the middle of the field. I know it's not flashy, but he looked like his old self. The other person I want to say as far as defense, and nobody's really talked about this yet, and I'm just going to do this because he shapes the defense. Tyler Davis, his presence gets him this award for this week. The defense looks completely different. You have so many different schemes that you can run. I pointed this out to, I believe, both of you guys, but I also pointed this out to my brother. They lined up Trenton Simpson at a defensive end to start the game. And I know that doesn't have to do anything with Tyler Davis, but they're throwing a different look there at Pittsburgh. And I think within the first 2 plays, Clemson got a sack. Just bam, right there. So Tyler Davis changed the mindset of that defense. Everybody was just playing lights out, and I think part of having 13 back on the defense is part of the reason why. So he gets my player of the week this week.
Billy Sigmund jumps in, says Powell gets 100 yards this weekend. He'll hold the record for consecutive 100-yard games. Mm-hmm. Thoughts on that one, Houston?
I don't think there's anyone in Clemson's history that we can compare the progression of Cornell Powell to. We want to talk about Hunter Renfrow. Hunter Renfrow went from walk-on to this superstar. Cornell Powell was a relative unknown and has just turned it on. We haven't seen this way. He had a couple of touchdowns. Someone pointed out that he had as many receptions this year as he'd had in his prior 4 years at Clemson, and he's just become an all-star. And it's incredible to see the buy-in in the program that Dabo Swinney has gotten a lot of these players. You'll see someone like this year after year just come out of nowhere, whether that's a Hunter Renfrow, Nolan Turner. This time it's a Cornell Powell who has just decided, I want to play on Sundays and I want to contribute to this team, so I'm going to moss everybody. And I thought the biggest thing to me was I didn't think that DJ's pass at Notre Dame would be topped, but dadgummit, Trevor almost did it with that throw 70 yards down the field, one-handed catch, and it was even enough to where Pat Narduzzi had to comment about it at the end of the game. So you know that they're doing well then.
Yeah, for sure. I got to tell you this real quick. I just wanted to get in there. You were talking about a comparison for Cornell Powell. The guy I think about when I think of what he's done, he's kind of been in relative obscurity for his whole career, and then his last season, it seems like he just turns it on. I feel like that's a Kevin Dodd type deal. You didn't hear anything from Kevin Dodd. All of a sudden, he kind of explodes onto the scene his senior year, and did a phenomenal job at end. I was really, really looking forward to that. It's these guys that they get to this program and they get outplayed. They get past on the depth chart, and then they just keep sticking with it. They keep grinding, they keep doing their thing, and all of a sudden the light comes on. It's a beautiful thing to see.
Yeah, I mean, you pull that name out there. I mean, I believe that helped him get some time in the NFL more than he probably would have.
Yep.
And I would even say a Brandon Ford type thing,
Sure.
getting that last year type in there and really showing out. And I mean, what they do, move him to tight end or move him to kind of that inside slot more position, and he flourished there where he was basically getting overlooked every single year. But what's even weirder about this and more exciting about this is that, and it's due to injury, but he has become the outside receiver. They didn't move him around. He made his way to literally the number one guy on the left side by himself. No help. I mean, that is a lot. And the thing is too, he's always been buff. He's always been big. I don't think he's always been able to get separation. And sometimes they mention, well, he got separation a little bit more aggressively than not on some of those plays. I don't really feel that way. I think it's hand fighting, and I think that I want him to continue to do it. Don't listen to those guys, Cornell. Don't listen to those guys. Keep fighting like you're fighting for a scrappy rebound in the Church League basketball championship game. Fight like it's your last game, every game, because you're doing great, man. I mean, just so proud of what you're doing. I know you don't listen to this show, but just say, if you did listen to the show and you Googled yourself, you probably found this show, and we're talking great about you because we love what you're doing this year. People still talking about Malcolm Green now. People still excited about that. I got even comments in here saying that they feel he is better than or could be better than Landon Zanders. Now, those are both young guys, so let's give them a chance.
Oh, yeah.
Let's give them a chance. But Zanders is not somebody that's going to give up his spot either. I think he's got a ton of potential, huge potential for both players. Want to see them all on the field. And let's just throw in Trenton Simpson as well. Here's my only thing about Trenton Simpson. I mentioned this in the chat. You guys told me it was no big deal. But he did kind of get, like, Ian Book outran him or ran by him, and Kenny Pickett kind of ran by him on two plays together. So I was a little bit concerned with that.
No, all right, I have to defend Trent Simpson and defend his honor from the slander that you put out here on the interwebs. Okay, so first and foremost, Trent Simpson is going to be arguably the greatest linebacker to ever come through Clemson, and I'm calling that right now. And it's not because he's a completely different athlete than Isaiah Simmons. The one thing that sets him apart from Isaiah Simmons is his ability to be able to rush the passer. He's just a freshman, all right? His ability to be flexible and use his shoulders to get past offensive linemen is a huge deal. And part of the reason that he's been outrun by Ian Book and Kenny Pickett, it's not because he's slow. It's because he's a freshman and he's not taking the right angles. It's the one knock on him that he's got to do. You have to get the right pursuit angles on a play like that. And part of the reason why he was in an open field situation where Xavier Thomas had to outrun Kenny Pickett, run past him. Xavier Thomas had a great game, but he still has a little bit of issues running past the quarterback. Kenny Pickett breaks free, and he's having to make this play. Look, step for step, Trenton Simpson was with him. It's just Kenny Pickett got by him trying to take that pursuit angle. And, I mean, look, Kenny Pickett's an athletic quarterback. Same with Ian Book. I mean, we talk about Trevor Lawrence being more of a pocket passer, but when he gets out, he can run. It's the same with Kenny Pickett and Ian Book. And I don't think that's on Trenton Simpson at all. I think he's a phenomenal linebacker the way that he's been playing. And I just think that right now he's just got to learn how to get angles, and he's going to be an All-American like that.
Yeah, I think you're exactly right with that for sure. And I think that, it's just those small little things that Brent Venables will be able to get him to adjust and correct, because Brent Venables is like one of those guys. Remember when he first got hired, he talked about one of the most important things is footwork, because if you don't do your footwork right, then it can cause you to be one or two steps behind the person that you're guarding or zone coverage or defending in that situation. And so, as you mentioned, and I completely agree, it's not so much that he's not fast enough, because we know he's like fast and he's super athletic. He's a freak out there. To be able to play at that position in a freshman, is not just because of, it's not really injury. It's because they have linebackers. They have a ton of linebackers. They got Bentley. They got Patterson. They got McGuire. They got those guys out there. But and they got Jones as a starter, but he's out there quickly as a freshman, so that shows some confidence that Brent Venables has. Just got to figure it out. Just got to basically develop. And so these guys, we want them to show up immediately and be like superstars on day one. But it takes some time. But yeah, still a lot of props to him and all the playing time that he's getting. It's just going to help him exponentially grow into next year and beyond as well. Who knows what'll happen, but yeah, again, another player that's got a high ceiling, and those kind of like guys are going to be here for 3 years, 2-3 years down the road. They're still going to be on this team, and they're just going to be seniors and juniors by that point, and it is going to be very nasty, very, very nasty for any opposing offense for sure. So offense and defensive grades, because we kind of got sidetracked there, but grades real quick. I'm giving them both A's. I can't give either side anything lower than an A. Complete domination. Both sides did a great job. 2 fumbles, 4 interceptions for the defense. Trevor Lawrence clicking like crazy. Running games had no issues in the red zone. Like Houston mentioned before, no big time stat in the running game, but really just could move the ball whenever they really wanted to, as far as like in the red zone. And that's what I like to see, because that's when you get points. So I'm giving both A's on my end.
Yeah, I hate agreeing with you on both players of the game and both grades, but I gave them both A's as well. No A plus for the offense, simply because we talked about it. The run game between the 20s wasn't quite as dominant as you want. Etienne wasn't able to break a big one like he usually does. He had like 58 yards, I think, total for the game or something like that. But again, I'm loving the challenge that they manned up to the challenge on the goal line, which is going to be important. It's going to be really important moving forward. Hopefully, this is the same thing. When it's at the 50-yard line and it's 4th and 1. They're able to do that. So as long as we see some improvement in the short game, Etienne's going to get as long as it's just going to take some time feeding the ball, whatnot. So I'm good with that. Defense, same way. A lot of INTs, man. I was a little disappointed they let him make that little mini comeback there for a little while. But hey, no, it's good. They did an awesome job. The DBs were everywhere. They were just so solid this game. You got to see more of that in the future. It's amazing when you can bring so many guys out there and still be like it's a starter.
For me, I'm going to go A plus for the defense. No further comments needed there. We've already talked about that. I'm going to give an A minus to the offense. We got a little cute for about a quarter, midway through the second, midway to the third, and kind of stagnated there. But the other thing I will say, I'll bump that to an A actually, because 2 of those drives, there were terrible calls. Cornell Powell made an outstanding catch on the sideline for them to just go back and take that catch away. And then the catch and throw from Trevor to Amari, that is one of the worst calls I've ever seen in my entire life. Those refs should be ashamed of themselves for that man downfield call. You should let that play stand, let Amari have his touchdown, and let's be talking about a 59-17 game.
Yeah, that would have been awesome. Another thing, too, we didn't even mention this. The troll job from Dabo Swinney to watch the team come out with a flea flicker and completely botch it, and then to come out 3 plays later and score a touchdown on a flea flicker play. What was your thoughts on that?
Whoa! You said by Dabo Swinney. All right, this is the mastermind Tony Elliott himself.
Okay,
I'm sure.
No, came up with Dabo Swinney said he made the call.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. I was so excited to come on this show and say something major positive about Tony Elliott, because that was one of the coolest things ever in game, to see the flea flicker and then turn it around on him and be like, hey, no, this is how it's actually supposed to be done, guys. It was amazing to see. It was a great call. It was a cool time to use it too. It was just great all the way around. I think we should be doing more stuff like that. We don't need all the the gimmick trick plays necessarily. We're too good of a team, but hey, just at times when the other teams want to use it on us and it fails, just as a little subtle jab. Okay, it's a cool thing to throw in the game.
Yeah, that's ice cold. I love it. I think at least once a game, when you're not playing like scrub teams, Roast Beef Tech, SC State, whatever, South Carolina, any of those teams, you don't have to like use those gimmicky plays. But if you're playing a conference opponent, doing one a game just to spice things up a little bit, I think that's perfect. And I think doing it 3 plays later is the most ice cold thing I've seen.
And just side note, you mentioned DK. He was in the Love House. I'm not calling it the Dog House.
Love
Dabo
Shack.
Swinney, Love Shack. Yeah, he was in the Love Shack, not the Dog House, but basically the Dog House. Dabo Swinney is still working on some things with him, loving him up, as Dabo said in the press conference. So, showing him some ways to mature and grow as a player and a person on and off the field. We don't know exactly what it was, but that was the reason for, the lack of playing time there. But yeah, thank you so much for joining in over on YouTube, Facebook, wherever you're at. If you're listening after the fact over on the podcast, thank you again. Let's talk about Virginia Tech prediction real quick as we get into the final part of the show, as we're talking about Virginia Tech preview, and then we're going to give you our picks against the spread. So we got number 3, Clemson Tigers, 8-1 overall, 7-1 in the conference. Final conference game. As you know, that last game was the final home game. This is the final regular season conference game, because we're going to go ahead and say that because nobody wants to play Florida State. Florida State doesn't even want to play. I know you're saying it was just postponed, Morgan. No, they don't want to play. We get it. They've already made a point. They don't want to play. So we don't want to play them either. So this is the final regular season game as far as I'm concerned. Now, if something were to happen and they pay their way and also travel to Clemson, you know what? Not gonna hate on them. Not gonna hate on them. But they only can play with 7 players. That's the rule. Against us. Full team with us, 7 players for them. All right, so Clemson versus Virginia Tech. Virginia Tech, a team that I was high on preseason, doing really well in the running game, not so well everywhere else. Defense has kind of stepped back, 463 yards allowed per game. Offense can score big time, 450 yards per game, but primarily through the running game, 250 yards rushing, and Khalil Herbert, a transfer there, doing great, almost 1,000-yard rusher for him with 6 touchdowns. It's going to be in Blacksburg. Right now, the spread is -22 at Lane Stadium, 7:30 p.m. So it's not a morning game, not a noon game, not an 11 a.m. game, not a 3:30 game. This is actually a night game for the Tigers finally. But again, kind of bittersweet because of COVID. I don't know how many fans they're going to have, but last game I saw there, they only had 1,000. And so it's just not the same when you play in Lane Stadium at night. Last time I remember Clemson going there, it was a packed house and Clemson beat them. I want to see that again. Right now, Clemson, ESPN's Football Power Index has 87.2% chance of winning for Clemson, 12.8% chance for Virginia Tech. And I've got down here, Virginia Tech didn't play last week. The game before that, go figure, they played Pittsburgh. Guess what the score was? They got destroyed, 41-17. So this team cannot beat Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh locked them down in the running game. Remember how we talked about that? Locked down their running game. It was at Pitt. It wasn't at Virginia Tech. But Pittsburgh shut them down. They had no rushing touchdowns. And Trevor Lawrence looks good. Clemson's defense is getting healthier. Again, I will mention, I would love to see Travis Etienne get more rushing yards per game. It really goes back to the fact that I was wanting him to win the Heisman Trophy, and he would need to have more than 150 yards per game. I know that's way out the window by now, but I want to see him. I want to see him chew up some ground as well. But Clemson has proven that they can do more with him in the passing game, and they can actually. They don't need a fully, power running game to be able to blow people out. And so, the -22 looking a lot better for my eyes, considering what happened to me last weekend. The one time that I pick against them, they, show me up. But what are your guys' rapid reactions here? Obviously, I'm thinking Clemson needs to prepare for a heavy dose of the run from Hooker and from Herbert. But I think considering that Clemson's getting healthier on defense and showing out the way they did against Pittsburgh, and the fact that Virginia Tech could not handle Pittsburgh, really bodes well for Clemson in that 22-point spread.
Yeah, look, I mean, like you said, they're really good at running the ball. They're 8th in rushing offense in the country, but they're 99th in passing offense, okay? And look, the stat sheet may not show it this year due to injuries and COVID, but a healthy Clemson defense is not 29th in total rushing defense as they're ranked right now. I think we all understand that. Tyler Davis being gone has attributed to a huge part of that, and the 3-man front has also hurt us in that. James Skowski being on, another big hit to Clemson. A lot of DBs have been injured throughout the year. All those things have contributed to Clemson not being ranked as highly as they should be in running defense. I think they should be or rushing defense. They should be what? I don't know, top 15, something like that. I think it's pretty typical. I'm not going to say, it's like not like they have the Power Rangers right now and, be top 5 or anything like that. But I think top 15 is pretty reasonable there. And if you can only rush against Clemson, you can't do anything against Clemson. Okay, that's been proven time and time again. Brent Venables will sell out to stop the run when he's got a healthy, full cupboard on the defense, which he does. He'll be able to stop. He'll be able to stop the running game. I have no doubts about that. He'll be able to stack the box, put his corners kind of on an island, bring his famous blitzes, and it's going to make for a long night for the Hokies. Virginia Tech on defense, they're 95th in total defense. Although, hey, earlier this year they were affected by COVID a lot too. They had a bunch of players out in the beginning, so I mean there's something to be said there. But it doesn't bode well for Trevor Lawrence in the home stretch of a potential Heisman campaign when they're 95th in total defense. Yeah, I think it's going to be a rough night for the Hokies. Even though the weather, cold night up in
maybe
Blacksburg,
some snow, as we're seeing in chat.
Maybe some snow, sloppy conditions, things can happen. That could change the Tigers' game plan a little bit, and maybe throw a wrinkle in it. But you've got to make a prediction based on things, being relatively normal. You can't say, well, it's going to snow, things are going to get crazy. We don't really know that it's going to snow yet. It's a long way out on Monday. But you never know what kind of things can happen. But as of now, neutral field, decent weather, you got to think that the Tigers pull this one out relatively simply.
I agree. One, Trevor has played in the cold before his freshman year, led the Tigers up to a blustery Chestnut Hill and put a beat down on the Boston College Eagles to clinch the ACC Atlantic. The other thing that I want to point out, and I don't think this is getting a lot of attention, there's a little bit of friction in the coaching staff and with the administration and with the team in Blacksburg between Justin Fuente and his team. It almost feels like this is kind of the end of the era. Not a lot of people want him around. This team kind of feels like they've quit a little bit, especially after the Liberty game. I think they're kind of Florida Stating their season away. I don't think they want to be there. And if they go to a bowl game, I know I saw a projection with them playing South Carolina. I could see them losing to South Carolina. Honestly, right now, they're just kind of on a downward slope. I think Clemson is getting into the championship phase. You're probably going to see the best offensive night in a while for Clemson. And with a healthy defense, I think you'll see a dominant performance. I expect Clemson to cover easily.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm taking Clemson as well, minus the 22, considering the comparable games that we have out there, considering that Virginia Tech could not handle Pittsburgh handled Virginia Tech, was able to find a way. I think that is a great blueprint for Clemson's defense, considering that Clemson's defense is improving and getting healthy. You can't really pick against Clemson right now, and knowing that Clemson relatively easily threw up 52 points and could have had way more than that. I've got to go with the Tigers and to cover the 22-point spread. Alan, you're saying there in the background, so I'm guessing that you're with us.
Yeah, I agree, 100%. I have Clemson minus 22. I think it's going to be about a 55-10 type game.
I tend to agree. I'm going to say 52-20.
Well, let us know what you think in the chat. I'm sure Clemson fans out there probably agree with that as well. But let us know what you think. Clemson minus 22 is what we're seeing over on ESPN. James is saying, what about 24? Are we confident minus 24? I would be honest with you. I think minus 24, you're good there too.
Yeah.
Again, considering, that Pittsburgh was able to put just about that much. I think that was, 41-17. So, I mean, I'm thinking Pittsburgh can do it. This team can do it. Now, the only caveat would be you're looking at the snow part of it. That might hurt some things. I don't know. I mean, it really just keep a monitor of the Weather Channel. Let's just put it that way. But yeah, let us in the chat. Let us know what you think about our Clemson versus Pittsburgh or Clemson versus Virginia Tech, and what you think the score will be, if you think they will cover the spread. And let's get into our picks against the spread and call it a night. But before we do that, let me tell you about our picks against the spread sponsors here, and that is Daniel Weber State Farm Insurance. Daniel Weber Insurance from Clemson, South Carolina. For all your insurance needs, call Daniel Weber State Farm. Their team is located in the heart of Clemson, South Carolina, and their goal is to protect, educate, and serve their customers and community. They specialize in auto and home insurance as well as life and health insurance. Give them a call. Their goal is to protect you and your family and your finances. 864-722-9083. Go visit them. 518 College Avenue, Suite 190, Clemson, South Carolina. right there, or you can go online, insuringclemson.com. I pulled up another 5-star review for them. I recommend this branch of State Farm. Good quality of product. Everyone is in the office. They feel like, to me, that I feel like I'm good friends with Katie. Over the last couple of years, I've had the opportunity to meet with her and have her go through my insurance needs. She is by far number one in customer relations, not just State Farm, but with any other business I've ever dealt with. She was kind, warm, fun, and awesome. As I walked in the door, she greeted me with a smile. You will like her as well. Lori, thank you so much. She is positive you will like Daniel Weber State Farm. Again, 864-722-9083, insuringclemson.com, or you see the address there. Thanks, Daniel, for sponsoring the show. Also, final sponsor of the night is Heating and Cooling Services, Inc., and Alan's going to tell you a little bit about them.
Absolutely. Heating and Cooling Services, Inc., serving Anderson County and surrounding areas since 1980. Heating and Cooling Services, Inc. is your residential and commercial comfort expert. Anything from preventative maintenance of your home HVAC system to overhauling a commercial chiller or anything in between. If you want to breathe easier and be nice and cool in your home or business this summer, or warm and cozy in your home or business this winter, give Heating and Cooling Services, Inc. a call. That number is 864-224-7655. You're going to want to talk to Mark or Jason Trammell. Again, their number is 864-224-7655. They'll take good care of you. Make sure that you tell them that the Morgan Thomas Show sent you. And look, I don't have to look up any 5-star reviews for these guys because I am your 5-star review for these guys. They came and did work on my AC unit. It's given me a ton of trouble. They saved me a ton of money when they didn't have to. They could have just told me, hey, you need a new unit. And because that's what I've been told before. And they did the work. They found the warranty. They realized, hey, you are under warranty. You just need this part, and save me a ton of money. These guys are awesome. They're good people. I've known them for a long time, and they will treat you right.
Alan, of anybody, you do not need a new unit. Houston, what is your? We need to get you in on a sponsor here. We need to get you in on a sponsor.
Yeah. No, I'm working on that. Get a couple sponsors up in here, and maybe you can hear the dulcet tones of my voice a little bit more.
Well, take your pick. I think we'll maybe give you a Charleston Sports Pub, or give you Tiger Sports Shop, maybe even Black's Tire. Maybe let you lead it off with the Black's Tire. Who knows? You just let me just shoot me a text later on this week. Tell me which one you want. We'll throw you in there. I don't want to leave you out. And already getting people knocking on my door about the need to get you an emoji tiger up here. It's in the work, one day at a time.
Bearded tiger. We have to have a fat bearded tiger on the
one request at a time, fans. One request at a time. All right, so college football, week 14, picks against the spread. We start with the ACC and we run through it. We've already done Clemson versus Virginia Tech. We already gave you that. If you missed it, go on our YouTube channel, check out the replay, or listen to our podcast and listen to the replay, or go check out some of our videos over on Facebook. Later on this week, I'll try to get it up Tuesday or Wednesday this week if I have a chance. Sometime before Saturday, I try to get that in there for you. But Western Carolina Catamounts versus number 19 North Carolina Tar Heels. That one is off. We're not even going to bother with that one. We'll move on. We believe that North Carolina will win, so just go ahead and give us the win there. Syracuse, 1-19 overall, 1-8 in the conference. The worst team in America, going up against one of the best teams in America. 2:30 p.m. Eastern Time, number 2, Notre Dame. So Syracuse versus Notre Dame, only a 2% chance of winning this game, and I believe that the numbers are wrong. It's way lower than that, at least when it calls to straight up. Syracuse is horrible, but the spread, gentlemen, the spread is where it's at. Minus 34. Can Notre Dame beat Syracuse by 34 points? Clemson did not beat Syracuse by 34 points. Let's just put that out there. And it looks like the last 5 games they have not lost by 34 points. So kind of keeping it close, even though they were 30. They were blanked against Louisville. It was only 30-0. For me, I think that Notre Dame, it really goes back to that last game against North Carolina. They were able to somehow keep it closer than it should have been, but North Carolina's defense is horrible. They're not that good. Notre Dame's defense is doggone good. Notre Dame's between the trenches, where it matters the most, offensive line, defensive line, is really good. Give me Notre Dame to cover the 34. I know it's a lot of points. But Notre Dame has exactly what they need to shut this team down. And also, Notre Dame looks good on offense too, guys. Ian Book, this is a good year for him. 2,000, almost 2,100 yards rushing or passing, 12 touchdowns, 1 interception. So give me Notre Dame to cover the spread. I know I'm nervous about it, but that's what I'm going with.
Yeah, look, this game could go either way. Notre Dame could certainly win this game by 40 plus. I think that's pretty easy to see. Syracuse is one of these teams against the spread that's given me trouble all year. They usually do a pretty good job for me, but look, I mean, if Syracuse comes out and is somehow able to score a touchdown or 2 touchdowns, and that starts to become a lot of points that Notre Dame has to score. I think this is one of those games that Notre Dame could get up early and maybe kind of pull a Clemson and put some backups in late and things like that. It could be a backdoor cover type situation. I just in a league game, it's really hard to pick a 34-point spread. And I'm going to have to take Syracuse and hope they can find a way to cover this one.
I understand that.
Yeah, in total agreement. I'm not saying Syracuse by any means is going to just make this close at all. Like Notre Dame's very capable of covering a 34-point spread, but I look at common opponents or even opponents in the lower tier of the league. Notre Dame only beat Duke by 14. They only beat Louisville by 5. They only beat Florida State by 19, and they only beat Georgia Tech by roughly 18. So I'm going to say that Syracuse does not get beat by 34, but they still get beat pretty bad.
I can understand that. I'm going to go lone wolf on that one. I just have to go with my gut feeling. My brain is telling me, why? Why are you doing this? But I got to go with that. I'm going to stick with it. Boston College is up next, and they are traveling to Virginia. It's going to be an interesting one for this game. Boston College 6-4 overall, a 3:30 game. Virginia 4-4 overall. Again, Virginia wasn't able to play the last game because Florida State flaked on them. Virginia projected to win FPI 57.1%. They're -6 right now against the spread. So right at -6. Now, I had -6 too. I thought I had -7. That's a game coming up that we'll talk about. But -6 against the spread. And for me, I'm going to go ahead and I feel like that Boston College could either win this game or keep it close. I'm really a bit high on Boston College right now. I'm still kind of rolling with them like I did with North Carolina State a few weeks ago or a few months ago. Not sure if they'll win. Not sure if they will win, though. But I will say this. They have one of the best turnover margins in the ACC. I think they can force a turnover and keep it close that way, maybe. So give me BC to travel with the +6.
Yeah, look, BC's a team that has actually done me right all year. As a matter of fact, they usually do me right when I pick them, against the spread. They just have that knack for keeping games close. Whether they win or lose, they keep games close. And as a matter of fact, they've really overachieved this year as a whole. And Virginia's done really well. As a matter of fact, I had Virginia covering this game earlier, and it's like, you know what, BC's just been Old Faithful kind of for me this year, and I really feel like I got to roll with them. In this case, Phil Jerkovic has been playing hurt. I know his shoulder's been kind of giving him problems, and maybe that, they covered last week against Louisville, but again, it's Louisville. I thought they could have won by even more than that. I was kind of shocked that was only a touchdown game. So maybe it's hindering him, maybe it's not. But I think if healthy, they can keep this game close to a field goal. So I'm going to have to take BC +6.
Give me BC plus the 6 as well. I agree with Alan. They've overachieved this year. I think they're going to be setting themselves up quite nicely to be playing for second in the Atlantic next year, basically. But I think they're a good team. And I think they're going to be able to – I think they win outright. I'm picking BC outright. I think they win this game.
Next up, Georgia Tech, one that Allen rode last week and won. 3-5 overall, 4 p.m. game this Saturday against North Carolina State. 7-3. North Carolina State, 7-3 overall. They just happened to become 7-3 out of nowhere. 70% chance of winning this game for North Carolina State. But again, they put up 50. Georgia Tech put up 56 against Duke last weekend. Right now, -7 right now for NC State. For me, As I'm looking at this, Jahmyr Gibbs hurt his hamstring really bad for Georgia Tech, one of their best wide receivers, and walked off the field, couldn't walk off the field. He was so hurt, so he had to kind of limp off there, and did not come back. Came back actually on crutches. So I'm a little concerned there. Give me the Wolfpack. The Wolfpack is not going to turn the ball over as bad as Chase Bryce does. And even though NC State's not the best team in the world, I think that -7, give me that. I think they can cover that.
Yeah, you kind of hit the nail on the head there at the end with the turnovers. GT was able to hammer Duke in the end, pulled away at the end. It was kind of a back and forth game, but then they were able to pull away because they turned it over 3 times, but Duke turned it over 5 times. Okay, that was a really crazy game. I got to watch a good bit of it, about a little more than half of it. So it was a lot of fun to watch. NC State's they're not going to turn the ball over that much, I don't think, and I think they're going to make Georgia Tech pay for doing just that, because Georgia Tech has turned the ball over all year. So I don't have any choice. Even though they did me right last week, I have to go NC State here -7.
NC State -7. They've been able to Frankenstein that quarterback situation between Bailey Hockman and Devin Leary. I think between both of those, they're both capable enough to win. Zonovan Knight has played really well, and Georgia Tech's defense is horrid. Give me NC State in the 7.
Now, here's one that popped up, was not showing earlier on ESPN. I guess this is either a makeup game or something. Miami versus traveling to Duke. Miami 7-1 overall, Duke 2-7 overall. Miami 84.6% chance to win. Actually, not even seeing a spread pick here showing up for them. Let me go to look at OddsShark real quick and see what I have for a spread on them, if they have anything. But this would be Miami Duke. I'm going to go ahead and tell you this, though. There's no way I can pick Duke after what they did to me. They are dead to me after that game. You cannot trust Chase Bryce as much as you may want to as a Clemson fan. He is not trustable. Maybe you would say untrustworthy. But I cannot go with him. It looks like the spread on OddsShark is 15.5. And the computer says Miami will win by 10. Give me Miami -15.5. I mean, there's no, even if it's 15, even if it's only 7-point difference going into the fourth quarter, you got to think Chase Bryce is going to throw 2 more interceptions.
Yeah, I think this line should be higher than that. Now, again, maybe they're accounting for something we don't know. Again, we talk about it all the time. Vegas always knows. They always know. But I think you got to take the Canes here. I didn't really care what the point spread was when you were saying it, because I knew we were all going to pick Miami. Duke has been dead to me all year, and they're really dead to me now after they really screwed me all year. Hey, except for Georgia Tech, was able to do it. I picked against Duke, and they actually looked like I hoped Duke would look. So that was kind of cool last week. But they've done me wrong all year, and I can't handle it anymore.
Yeah,
give me the Canes.
Yeah, this game could go as high as 22. I'd still pick the Canes. Miami's going to roll in Durham.
And that was our ACC league games of the weekend that we'll be looking at. And this leads us into our top 3 games of the week. This is our top 3 games of the week picks, courtesy of Houston this week. So thank you, Houston. First one up is going to be Indiana, number 12, Indiana travels to number 16, Wisconsin. 5-1 Indiana, 2-1 Wisconsin. They've had some issues with COVID. They hadn't been able to play. 84% chance to win to Wisconsin. I'm guessing it's because that Michael Penix Jr. is out with a torn ACL. Unfortunately, bad news over the weekend for Indiana. Good news is that they have a pretty decent backup. Houston and I were talking about that earlier on this afternoon. Jack Tuttle, former 4-star recruit from Utah, 24/7 had him at 167th overall in the nation as a pocket passer, and 8th best pro QB in the nation in his draft class. And he's going to be taking over for Michael Penix. Now, he might not be as flashy and able to run around, but Houston said he's very consistent. And they still have a solid foundation around to build that player, for him to distribute the ball to. And that's what you have to do as a quarterback. So with that being said, and with the fact that Wisconsin, I picked you against Northwestern, and you screwed me.
Yep.
With that being said, I'm going to take the plus 14 here and go with Indiana and hope that Mr. Tuttle uses his big prestigious 4-star recruiting ranking or rating and does well for Indiana.
Yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you here, Morgan. I think a lot of people are going to write them off because their quarterback Penix is such a good quarterback. I mean, he can really sling it, and he's dangerous in the run game. This guy's a little bit bigger than Penix, and he doesn't have quite the arm, not quite as mobile, but still very capable. And that is Penix, by the way. I don't know if y'all are getting that, but that's what I'm saying. I see y'all giggling like little schoolgirls over there. But,
there's some static, I think, from your mic.
Check the tape, Penix. But no, he's a great quarterback, man, and it's a shame because I keep telling you this. I tell you this like every week that our buddy Mark, the Hoosier fan, is got to be heartbroken over this. It's brutal. I saw him at church Sunday, and all I could do is shake my head. It's like, man, sorry. They had a great run, but I'm picking Indiana this week because of their defense. Wisconsin has played one game that they've lost to Northwestern, because Northwestern played them tough on D. Indiana has the same type thing. They like to hold opponents to low scores, and I think they're going to be able to do it again. So I'm taking Indiana plus 14.
And to interject with that, you mentioned that, great point. Their quarterback for Wisconsin, Mertz, had difficulty against Northwestern with the turnover bug. Guess what? Indiana is a turnover interception machine. 16 interceptions in 6 games.
So, first and foremost, and I feel like the both of you need to hear this, it's Michael Penix. Okay? That's what his name is. Okay?
I don't think so, Houston.
In the South, it's
wrong.
Penix.
I just don't think you want to say it.
In the South, it's Penix. You got a little draw there.
Yeah. There's a lot of jokes there. Anyway, I'm picking... So it's plus 14 to Indiana, but I don't think they win this game. I think it's a very close game. I think Jack Tuttle keeps them in the game. I don't think that Wisconsin will cover, but I do think Wisconsin comes back. The Northwestern-Wisconsin game was so Wisconsin and so Northwestern that it just had to happen. That's bound to happen. Wisconsin has an ugly, stupid, dumb loss every year to a team that they should beat by 40, and Northwestern plays above and beyond one game to just ruin somebody's season, to then follow it up to lose to Scrubby McScrubbers in the next week.
Yeah.
All right. That's what happened. Wisconsin's going to be back. I think they win the game. It's going to be close. I think it's going to be probably like a 7-6 kind of game where you turn it on and you're like, it's the same score from the first quarter. Goodness gracious. That's what's going to happen. Wisconsin wins but doesn't cover.
Okay. I don't know. I think it'll be higher scoring than that. But next up is one that is an SEC matchup from 2 ranked teams here. Number 5, Texas A&M, 6-1 overall. Noon game. Number 22, Auburn Tigers, 5-3 overall. Auburn showing up at FPI as a potential winner here. 53% chance to win. I guess it's because it's a home game. Because for me, and it's also -7 to Texas A&M. For me, here's the thing. Texas A&M on paper is better on offense and better on defense. They're way better on defense, by the way. But Texas A&M has one of the best defenses in the SEC, and that means they have, maybe this year they maybe have an average defense, but they have one of the best defenses in the SEC. Auburn is terrible with their defense in third down conversions allowed. I love that stat. 53.7% third down conversions allowed, last in the SEC. This is an SEC this year that allows a lot of scoring. And so to be last in allowing third down conversions is not very good, especially when it's over 50% of the time. Texas A&M, number 1 in the SEC in tackles for loss. Number 4, they get 4 tackles a loss a game. And number 1 in sacks. All right, so they get the most sacks of the SEC. They get 3 total, excuse me. I'm saying it completely wrong. Let me start that over. Number 1 in tackles for loss allowed, and number 1 in sacks allowed. Only 3 total sacks allowed, only 4 tackles for loss allowed a game on average. So their offensive line is really, really good. That's where I'm going with that. Their defense is really, really good. So there's really no need for you to pick anybody other than Texas A&M. So I'm going Texas A&M to cover the -7.
I was really interested to see where you were going to go with this one because I know your love for Jimbo Fisher and Bo Nix.
They are also number 1 in the SEC in time of possession. Let's just throw that out there.
Yeah, I know you've been struggling with this one all week. Look, here's the thing. I have no good reason to pick Auburn here, except for it's 2020, so that's what I'm going to do. I got to make up some ground somewhere. Again, this is just a shot taken in the dark. I don't believe Auburn should cover this. If it was a full stadium, I'd say they have a better chance. But I'm riding the Bo Nix train here, and going to say Auburn covers the 7.
I agree with Alan.
Dang it, Houston.
I was hoping to be the lone wolf on this.
He changed that at the last second. I don't believe that was in his mind.
No, I was picking Auburn. It's the end of the year. The Gus Malzahn getting fired talk is out there. Everybody's talking about, will Hugh Freeze be the next head coach at Auburn? It's that time of year when Gus Malzahn kicks it into gear and figures out how to save his dadgum job. Yeah. And that's what he's going to do. I'm picking Auburn to win this game.
Texas A&M has way better, completely better defense than Auburn. Their offensive line is good too. I can't go with it. You can't convince me otherwise. There, chat saying that, Hart saying in chat, remember, Kellen Mond is quarterback, and he is literally the Tony Romo of college football. And so that bodes for Allen and Houston there. And James gets in over on chat. He's got a few that he wants to ask our confidence on. We'll get that. We'll clean that up at the end, James. So hang tight. But he's asking us to pick Liberty and Coastal. Houston, why don't you tell him who our last pick is?
Our last pick is the College Game Day Game of the Week in the beautiful city, Conway, South Carolina, Myrtle Manor, baby. We're going down. We're talking about, it's not college, baby. It's Coastal.
Liberty Flames, 9-1 overall. Not undefeated, 2 undefeated teams. Thank you, NC State. I hate you. But 9-1 overall. Well, really, it's the kicker's fault. But 9-1 overall. 2 p.m. game this Saturday versus 9-0 Coastal Carolina, number 20th, or the 20th ranked team in the nation. ESPN FPI, a little bit concerned with this, is it doesn't match up with some of these games we mentioned. 80.1% chance to win for Coastal Carolina. Only slightly under a 20% chance for Liberty to win. Right now, Coastal is at a -7-point favorite. Statistically, though, these two teams are almost identical. They haven't played the same type of teams. And I will say I lean more towards Liberty because they have played ACC teams and almost schooled all 3 of them. And they do have Willis, who has the most, Malik Willis, who has the most fantasy points of any quarterback in the nation. So they have a big baller there at quarterback. And again, they're holding teams to right at 301 yards per game on defense. I looked at all of my stats that I like to look at, the third down conversion percentage. I looked at, long plays allowed, past 10 yards, past 20 yards. I looked at turnover margin. And I looked at, injuries. I didn't see anything, at least from some of the things that I looked at. So it really seems very, very close to me. And to me, these two teams can score, and it could end up being like an Appalachian State type game where they're both scoring back and forth, and it'd just be one of the best games we've ever watched all year, maybe even in the past couple of years. I'm hoping for a barn burner from both teams. Take the over and give me Liberty plus the 7, because if it comes down to overtime, I want +7.
Yeah, that's a good point. And I think this is going to be a great game. And this is something I hesitate to do because Coastal has absolutely destroyed the spread all year. The one they lost was a half point, and they were literally 2 yards from the end zone. It's much like the Cincinnati game. except for they actually tried to punch it in there. Much like Cincinnati UCF, they tried to punch it in. They got stopped at like the 1 or 2 yard line. Just a couple more plays, they would have had it, no problem. And it was a half a point. Okay, they've just killed the spread this year. So I hate to do it, but Liberty, like Morgan said, they're tested. They're tested this year. I'm not saying that, I get it. It's the ACC, right? We're terrible. Isn't that the way it's supposed to go? I understand, but they have played with some big boys, so to speak, quote unquote. But and they've looked good. As a matter of fact, I think they should have beat NC State. They missed a field goal they should have made. And we know the story with the others as well. So I've got to take Liberty here. I think it's going to be a close game. As much as it pains me to not take Coastal, I've ridden them all year when it comes to the spread. But I gotta take Liberty here.
So Liberty, I have an affinity for Liberty. They're one of the few people that said, "Hey, you can be a preferred walk-on." When I was a scrub at Chapman High School.
Wow!
I was a Scrubby McScrubberson. I didn't go. I ended up going to Clemson, obviously. So I follow Liberty, have an affinity for them. Love those guys to death. They're tested. They've beaten two
good
ACC
people.
They're good people. They're wonderful. 2 Corinthians. That's where that happened. So I like them. I think they're a great team. Questionable coach for some people, and they've got a better quarterback. And this is nothing against Grayson McCall. I think Grayson McCall is a great quarterback. He'll be fine. And if he's coming back next year, Coastal is going to be a force in the Sun Belt. But I just think right now Liberty is the more tested team. They're the big dog, and they're going to come in and win this game. I'm picking Liberty.
Yeah, I like where you're going with that. I mean, I obviously agree. We all locked in Liberty there. And so I wasn't really thinking that was going to happen, but really, like I said, when you look at it, the teams are very close, and in that case, I'll take the plus. Now, I don't know who's going to win outright. Chat, Billy saying, I don't know what's going to be uglier, the beatdown Liberty gives Coastal or their sucky field, which I mentioned their field last week, I believe. The teal, I don't necessarily mind unless it's blazing hot sun bearing down on it, which at 2 p.m., it will be a blazing hot sun bearing down on it, more than likely. So the weather right now showing, oh, you know what? The one time I go down and look at the weather, it's not showing. Thank you, ESPN, for that. Okay, so I don't know what the weather's going to be, but if it's sunny, it's not going to be fun to watch on TV. Let's just put it that way. So chat saying, Bill saying, go with Liberty. He hopes Coastal wins, but he wouldn't be surprised if Liberty pulls out a win. And Hart saying he's going to go lone wolf on Coastal. So, Hart, you can be our lone wolf there. Chat over here, James, going back up a little bit. He said he wants to know our confidence on Boston College. Confidence on Boston College. We'll give it an A, B, C, or D. So give it a grade of confidence. Boston College at UVA. I'm going to say a C only because Brennan Armstrong has been getting better every week. Now, he didn't play last week, so they might be a little bit rested, which might be good for them. And so if anybody can score, it's going to be Virginia. And I think that bodes well for them.
Yeah, I'm actually going to go with a C as well because I don't know the health of Phil Jerkovic's shoulder and if that may play a part or anything like that. So yeah, and I actually had, like I said, Virginia picked in this game originally and flipped back because BC's done me so well all year. So it's just one of those games. It's an ACC game. It's tough to pick. It's really hard to have a lot of good confidence in these picks. But yeah, I would say about a C.
I'll say B-, C+, somewhere in that range. I'll always say that picking ACC games is like trying to herd cats. So just take that as you will.
And I think he also gets in there and asks, what would you do with Miami minus 17? I think Houston already mentioned that he would believe Miami at 22. Alan agrees as well. So I can't really trust Duke. Like I said, if they have it close, it can't be close for very long because they're going to throw an interception or have a fumble or something. Something bad's going to happen to them. I don't wish any bad on Chase Bryce, but he just can't keep the ball. I mean, it's just apparent at this point that is a problem for him. But yeah, so hey, we went through our picks against the spread. If you missed that, you can go back on our YouTube channel and check out the replays that we have up, or you can listen to us on a podcast after the fact, probably get it up tomorrow afternoon sometime. But we talked about week 3 recap. We talked Heisman Trophy talk. We talked Clemson versus Pittsburgh. We talked Clemson versus Virginia Tech. And then again, like I said, we gave you our week 14 picks against the spread. Not many weeks left. This is the final week of the regular season for the Clemson Tigers. Like I said, we think that Florida State has given up and rolled over and died and gone on to 2021 and moved and turned into a basketball school. That's what we're going with here on this show. But again, thank you so much. Whether you're watching on Facebook, what you do is follow and like the video and share the video with a friend. And Houston has something.
Speaking of basketball.
Oh, yes.
Speaking of basketball.
Speaking of basketball.
Shout out to the 2-0 Space Coast Challenge champion, Brad Brownell coached Clemson basketball team. This might be fleeting. This might not last forever. But are we good, guys? I think we might be.
Well, one thing I'll tell you, which I talked to Terrence Oglesby earlier today, the fact that they defended their big 7'3" guy is a good sign for me. They defended him really well. The fact that they played really well while Amir Sims was fouled out or sitting on the bench the almost entire time against Mississippi State. Not what I said, Houston. Not what I said.
Children on this show. Children.
But the fact that they did well without Amir Sims and P.J. Hall came in and held his own quickly and early on. And then the fact that you've got 2 guards in Nick Honor and Alamir Dawes who can really take it to a defense and stretch that court and push you and pressure you. And the fact that, hey, you know what? I like that they came out with a full court press here and there. Try to change things up. It's exciting to watch Clemson basketball. I'm excited to see what Clemson will do this week against South Carolina State. I believe it's going to be a win. Then they get Maryland next week, and then it gets closer to, we get into ACC play. We're going to play Alabama, and then they're going to play Virginia Tech. So some big-time basketball coming up, and I'm looking forward to it. I believe Florida State's coming up in about a month or so. A lot of games coming up in December. We should preview that, guys. We might want to write that down and talk about the December preview of Clemson basketball. But, yeah. There's all positive things. It's still early, though. Still early. But we don't want to leave out our Clemson men's basketball team. But again, you can listen to us. If you're on Facebook, follow the show and like the show, and then share with your friends on Facebook. That's the biggest thing, the big help for us. On YouTube, biggest thing you can do is, if you haven't already, subscribe to the channel. We're trying to get to 1,000 so that we can have super chat. So we're almost there. Just got to get over that hump. I think we only have like 40 subscribers to go. So send the show to a friend and say, hey, sub to this. We would really appreciate it. On behalf of Alan, Houston, and myself, we hope you have a great weekend. We hope you had a great holiday weekend last weekend. We look forward to hearing you next week and what happens after Clemson plays Virginia Tech. But as always, Tiger fans, we'll see you at the top of the hill.